Pizza time! Boy, don't that look good.
This is Diana. She and the two other people we'll be discussing today have little hope of changing if they don't alter their thought processes. If you don't already recognize this show, it's Supersize Superskinny, an extremely popular British TV show where a quote-unquote supersize and super skinny person pair up to swap diets and reflect on each of their opposite issues with food. Sometimes the show also likes to do this thing where they take the supersize to America, essentially to terrify them into not becoming as obese as the Americans are. Which is where we meet Christina.
I'm Christina White. I'm 48 years old and I'm 32 stone. The doctor keeps telling me to lose weight and stop smoking. And it's easier said than done on both.
Now, the first most obvious type of person who can't change is, of course, the person who doesn't want to.
You've got to want to do it, and if you don't want to do it, it's not going to happen, is it?
No, it's not.
Do you want to? That's a no.
Right now,
that
no.
sigh was a no, wasn't it?
Right now, no.
So what's going to happen?
I'm ready to go anytime.
Christina's health is horrendous. She hasn't left the house in a month, she can't take care of herself without assistance from her young daughter, and she has this horrible open wound that won't heal due to her obesity, and is honestly seared into my brain at this point.
Christina's been given just 6 years to live. Although riddled with diabetes, asthma, kidney and cholesterol problems, nothing's enough to stop her bad habits.
Now, obviously, these are possibly the most compelling reasons to change ever. But I don't know how to say this other than Christina just does not give a
You know, I'm happy with it. I want to be happy and die. Me smoking and drinking my pop, I'm happy.
Even the tiniest of changes are of no interest to her. Watch her facial expression here.
See what's causing Christina's obesity. Dr. Christian explores the kitchen.
How many cans would you have a day?
Up to 6.
If you just changed that, you would lose weight. That sounds quite easy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the only person who can lose the weight is Christina.
She's like, please, just stop talking. Change has to come from within. No one can make anyone else change. If she's happy with what she's doing, then unfortunately, she's happy with what she's doing. If someone is happy doing what they're doing despite the consequences, even if it's clearly extremely destructive to everyone else, there is not much that can be done to get them to change. And if you love someone in this position, the best thing to do is get them to therapy so they can hopefully find a reason to want to change. This next person is actually from the very same episode. This is Marie. She recognizes that she's too thin, and unlike Christina, she wants to change.
I feel that I'm underweight. I do feel that I look quite bony.
You're really eating around 800 calories less than your body requires to maintain your weight.
Oh, right.
Did you know that?
I didn't.
But definitely quantity is the biggest problem.
But though Marie wants to change her body weight, she doesn't really understand what's wrong with her diet. In fact, she thinks she's super healthy.
Typically, I try to eat whole foods, so brown rice, lentils, quinoa. So I do eat very well. I think I'm very lucky, but I'm going wrong somewhere.
Marie is our second person who can't change. The person who doesn't realize they have a problem.
One of my typical breakfast recipes would be porridge, and it would be 27 almonds. I don't know how I came to 27, but there we are.
I think hearing that someone is fastidiously counting out 27 almonds for their breakfast is probably a red flag for most of us. But Marie is so firm in her belief that she is a healthy eater that it's blinding to what is obvious to most people watching the show. So much so that Marie resists the process as if she knows better and actually gives everyone else advice throughout the show.
I mean, would you always go for white bread? Because I tend to avoid white bread like the plague.
Okay, so what do you think of the fruit salad?
I'm a bit of a snob, I suppose, thinking I would have fresh fruit.
Yeah.
So far, despite signing up for the swap, superfood supporter Marie's refused to finish any of Brooke's food.
A bit dismayed by cheese, but nevertheless it's redeemed slightly by being wholemeal bread. There's too much in one sitting here, you don't need that much. And I wouldn't go for white bread again.
Everything we've seen with Marie demonstrates that she is not aware of the depth of her issues with food.
I feel I eat quite well, so I think you'll be okay. Maybe quantities aren't so good.
So for Marie to change, she'd have to really raise her level of consciousness about the problem. Who knows how deep this issue goes or how much of her daily life it affects? I think she thinks it's a simple problem, but it seems to be quite complex, as these issues tend to be.
And health food fanatic Marie's frustrated she's not been able to help herself.
Got all the information I need, you know, I'm an intelligent woman, I should be able to do it, so I'm determined to do it now.
There's a lot of research linking denial to eating disorders, but also simply being unaware of ourselves is a characteristic of people who struggle to change.
I'm a bit concerned that I may not have put on very much weight.
And without this knowledge of what the problem truly was, Marie so far was unable to succeed.
I think you know what I'm going to say now.
A few pounds?
Exactly the same as you were.
Oh, really?
Neither gained nor lost.
Oh, God.
And I think the problem with that is you just have underestimated the number of changes that you needed to make.
And finally, back to America, where we meet Diana.
As she's gained weight, 58-year-old Diana Steed has lost her independence, and now she can't even breathe by herself.
Diana's life is extremely difficult, and she's acutely aware that her weight and eating habits are the problem.
Now that I'm so big and my health is so bad, now I gotta depend on somebody, and it's so hard, and it's all due to fat. Oh, plain as day, F-A-T, fat.
As well as breathing problems and diabetes, obesity brings with it some more unexpected side effects.
I have a man's beard. I hate this. I do it with my eyes closed, because someday the diabetes will take my eyes from me.
But despite her health and difficult life, Diana isn't looking to make a change.
I've got too many ailments. So, my days are over.
Diana is our third type of person who can't change. The person who believes they can't.
I could have prevented this years ago. But no, I was too stubborn, I was young and dumb. Now look what it's got me.
Now, it might sound a little bit cliche, but the evidence is overwhelming that you need to believe you can change to be able to change, at least a little bit. Diana seems to have resigned herself to living out the rest of her days like this. You'll notice there's a sense of helplessness with her. She seems to feel that she's just too far gone at this point.
Diana's health problems are endless, and today she has an appointment with one of the 6 doctors she's under.
You probably know why you have a lot of arthritis, okay? Because 2 things, the weight, you're putting a lot of stress on these joints.
I know.
And you're not moving that much.
When most of us are offered scary information about our health that could be prevented through our behavior, we're motivated to make a change. However, if someone has tried and failed to change many times before, they may lose their sense of agency. Agency, that is the subjective feeling of control over our actions and their consequences.
That is a lot of pills. How many?
I'd say about 25 pills a day.
And in Diana's case, instead of this information being motivating, it just seems to confirm to her that everything is really hopeless.
And it's gonna get worse, and you might end up with a hip replacement even for that.
I know.
Okay?
I don't want any of that. I don't.
With this loss of agency comes a loss of motivation. You may feel that your future behavior will not translate to success because your past behavior hasn't translated to success. Something encouraging to notice with all 3 people we've discussed today is that their inability to change was extremely subjective. It all starts with the subjective way they represent the problem in their minds. It's the way they experience the situation and themselves, and not necessarily the situation itself. Meaning that there is a lot of opportunity to change our behavior simply by changing the way we think about the problem and ourselves. This video is sponsored by me and my Behavior Change Guide to Breaking Bad Habits and Getting Motivated. My guide blends everything I've learned about the science of behavior change. I'll be teaching you a 3-step change process. And I've used this exact method successfully on everything from waking up earlier to ending procrastination. It comes with a guide, exercises, and printable workbook. Click the link in the description box to get your guide or watch the explainer video to learn more. If you guys are curious about behavior change, this video of mine is probably the simplest summary of what you can do to change your behavior. And I think it's one of the best, most positive videos I've ever made, even though it's one of my least successful videos. Also, ending disclaimer, this has been a vast oversimplification in order to make my point, and I am a behavior change student, not an expert, so please take it with a grain of salt. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.